Good morning. Hello everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy and I am here with Liliana Ribbon. I've been promising all week. Welcome Liliana.
Thank you.
I'm so excited and I'm super proud of you, chick, for the amazing book that you have published. I've been telling you guys all about it. Finding Stillness. Detox your mind from anger and despair. Beautiful. Look at the cover, guys. I've been telling you about the beautiful lotus on the front. So Liliana, I thought we would ask a few. Oh, I've got the dogs barking in the background. You guys are used to them. And Liliana is my dog healer, and whisperer. So you'll hear a little bit of barking, and maybe I took the bones away, so we won't get the bone chewing today. Now, first off, guys, I just want to do a little intro. Oh, there they go, showing off. Welcome first off, Liliana. It's such a beautiful day here. We thought we'd shoot this outside, guys. It's absolutely gorgeous. First off, I just want to lead into the book. I've taken a few little statements from your book just to get us started, guys. What is stillness? So this is in your quote, Liliana. Stillness simply means a state of being present in the moment, free from distractions and mental chatter. This book is much more than just learning to be still. It's about understanding that you have the power to heal yourself and others around you, including your pets and plants in your garden as well. So Liliana, I think I just love that. I think it's beautiful because so many of my viewers here are really big into gardening. Liliana's the one that got me into veggie gardening as well, guys. Yay. I know. and obviously a lot of us have pets. I know a lot of you guys out there do. So Liliana, I'm just wondering if you could explain a little bit about the journey of finding stillness. I can see that in your book. I've already gone through the book. I haven't completely read it yet, as it only came yesterday, so I've been sort of briefly brushing through it. Mm-hmm. Can you take us through it's almost, to me, it reminds me of the awakening process that most of us are currently going through, which is enormous, and a lot of us are struggling. I know a lot of my viewers are, and you're highlighting the ways to heal, find that inner peace, which in your words, I absolutely love. You've written unleashes the creative powerhouse, which we talk about creativity all the time on this channel. Mm-hmm. Perhaps just before you do go into the book though, I think it would be really nice if you just gave the guys a little bit of an overall view of who you are and what you do with the healing of the animals. And I mean, you've been a real inspiration to me in so many aspects of my life. Oh, you have. Especially, you guys know I've got rescue dogs and they had a lot of trauma. So maybe if you just give us a little overall view of that, that would be awesome. And then we can go into a little bit about your finding stillness and how you're sharing it with all of us.
Okay.
Thanks. Over to you, Liliana. Cheers.
Well, you know, my background is with animals. So I started young as a premature twin, and I just, from looking at my life, I started very, very oversensitive. Breech birth backwards, so everything was switched on backwards. Yep. And I have very early memories of being aware of my environment. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize when I was little that a lot of the things that I was hearing and seeing and feeling was not all me.
Exactly.
So it led me to a path of working with animals, because the animal mind was a lot easier for me to focus with. It was just, they were quieter in a lot of ways.
Much quieter.
And then, so later on it led me into understanding that a lot of the noise chatter in my head was not just me, it was other people. And the feelings that I was feeling of other people. But the animals, it led me down a journey of feeling very comfortable in their space. So that led to feeling their hurts, their sadness, their pain. It started there with just the animals, but then going through their grieving process and all of that energy with death. And when they passed, where they went, and that I could hear them after they left. And, you know, I had absent parents, but not bad parents, but they weren't awake.
No,
they weren't. They just,
most parents aren't awake.
They just allowed me the freedom. Like, I didn't have someone telling me what I should be doing,
teaching you spiritual.
But they also didn't block me from anything either.
Okay.
They gave me that freedom to just explore everything myself.
Yep.
So I could spend. One of my favorite memories is going out my sister and I going out, sneaking out of the house after dark with our pillows and doonas, and just climbing up on our horses and putting the pillow on their shoulders, and then just laying with our doonas for hours.
Oh my gosh.
You know, so I grew up around animals. And,
very comfortable.
Yeah, and having that connection with them. And as I got older, I was just drawn to more and more animals, but ones with problems, and that accelerated because you start to learn a skill. Animals and people find you.
Yes, they do. We were talking about that the other day, how pets find you.
Yeah,
it's not the other way around.
And so what I'd find every place I would start to work is the animals that were traumatized would find their way to me. And then I end up becoming working with welfare and all sorts of different organizations, dealing with the really traumatized animals. So horses with aggression, ones that had harmed and nearly killed people, and just severe aggression, severe depression, anxiety, self-harming. All of those things are in animals as well.
They are.
And generally, those animals that have those traits usually have been traumatized by people.
Exactly.
So when I spent all of this time healing these animals, and I was in a very, I love my horses, so I did a lot of competition. I've spent most of my life training and competing, but I always had the relationship that...
In dressage, was what was
all
that?
Sorts of things, but dressage was predominant.
Yes, I remember seeing that photo of you.
Yeah. So, but the relationship was important. So if my horse said, I can't do this today, then I wouldn't. Or if they needed to sit and watch the other horses go around, I'd sit with them.
Yep.
And I have always had that stance. And then people would come up and give me their complicated animals and kind of go, you fix the horse. And, you know, it only took me
for help.
Yeah, it wouldn't take me long. But after a while, I started getting these horses going, there's nothing wrong with me. Can you fix my person?
Yes.
So I started then realizing that healing an animal meant that I needed to integrate the healing with the owner.
Yes.
So more and more, I basically translate the emotional trauma and issues that the horse was having because of the person.
Yes.
And after a while, more and more people were saying, did you do relationships?
I was going to say, how did that go from animal to person? Like,
it just progressed naturally. People started to see that the emotional issues with their animals and their kids and their animals, it expanded to themselves, to their partners, to their families, to work. And it went from there. And then, of course, kind of when pre-COVID, but when COVID hit, the stress of what people were going through, I then sort of went from animals and people to predominantly working with people. And that kind of leading into why finding stillness, I realized when COVID hit that our nervous systems were really not functioning. We've grown up in an environment, or let's say, war baby environment. My grandfather was in the prison war, and then in our father's generation, he didn't go to Vietnam, but his best mates did. So it's constant
there was still
war,
that connection.
you know, and recognizing the trauma my grandfather went through, and it copied through, and each generation then wears the trauma and pain of before. So we weren't in a fully quiet-minded place. We've not been born into that.
No, we haven't.
Our nervous
or
systems,
taught it.
Yeah, or taught it.
Yes.
Our nervous systems are too dysfunctional.
I agree. Totally.
So then when I realised that our nervous systems weren't calm, what was causing it? We were in a flight or fright mode.
So this was at the start, say, of COVID. Would you say this is when this all started to evolve, like you were just saying?
No, look, it's evolved. I've known this my whole life.
Yeah, you have known it.
I saw
but for a lot of us.
I saw the deeper issue with COVID, that we were never in a still place.
No.
And so finding stillness is something, it's about a remembering.
It is.
And I really went to I spent a lot of time with a lot of animals and working through that flight fright mode, and realised that there's another level to it that we don't really think about. And that one, when you're in exhaustingly flight fright mode and your nervous system is constantly going, where does it lead? It leads to freeze. You have moments where you freeze. That's true. You can't
That's
think.
true. Which is where probably a lot of us are currently at now. That's what I got from your book too. We're in freeze. Not moving forward.
No. So you go from overactive flight fright, and then you freeze because you're overwhelmed. But there's another F. Flight, fright, freeze. There's freedom.
Oh, our favourite.
Yeah. Freedom.
We're searching.
Yeah. So I really looked at how can I bring that freedom. And I was already doing that. When you work with an extraordinarily traumatized animal, you have to work through the flight, the fright, and their freeze, and bring them into a sense of freedom. So I was already doing it.
Yep.
So the book then was actually my mind going, oh my God, this is what the animals have been teaching me.
They've been teaching you the skills to connect to to people.
Yeah, when they're in that intense mode, and you have to function with them. They were teaching me about how to function through flight, fright, and freeze. So, and the way to do that was with stillness.
And that's interesting because I would say, and a lot of my viewers really know Sprocket's had deep trauma, and he's a classic example of that. I've explained to a lot of my viewers are regular, Sandy here, and they all know that he's had a drug owner and trauma of the past, and you and I have had to work intensely with Sprocket just to get him near people, and he's exactly that, isn't he?
So what happens when you have long-term flight fright mode and your nervous system is over-functioning?
Yes.
And you go into freeze and then back to dysfunction, overworking, overwhelmed, freeze, overworking, overwhelmed. What happens? Post-traumatic stress.
Yes. It's a long-term.
So COVID has really put everybody in a post-traumatic stress.
That would make sense, actually. Actually, I think that's a good label for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what have we not been able to do in this environment that's kept us in fear, in stress, in worry, in panic? We haven't been able to be still. Not physically, not mentally. I mean, they've kept us locked up, but
it's a different stillness, isn't it? It's not that kind of stillness. We've managed, a lot of us, because a lot of my viewers are awake, Sandy. Yeah. Sandy understands that too. But we've sort of made our sanctuary our home, is our haven. You're the same, I'm the same. A lot of my viewers grow veggies. We're all very productive people now. Yeah. We've discovered stumbled through things along the way in that last 4 years, I would say, as well. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's still not a stillness when you're locked up.
No, it's a stillness of the mind that we need.
Yes.
And there are so many different ways about going that, which we can get into. But it really was just addressing in a very simple way, are you still? And then people are like, well, what is stillness?
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of people get a bit muddled up. Like we talk about living in the now here. We really try and focus and listen to the birds. We did a little mini meditation the other day out here. So we try and do those things. But you have this very good technique, which I might get you to explain to the guys, about how to use your senses. Because we know the awakening process is about opening up your senses and living from that higher frequency vibration where you're a lot more open to everything. We talk a lot here about how we see colours brighter now. Yeah. When we went through our awakening, everything's crisper, clearer, stronger, just the beauty, they're the kind of things that we've noticed. So maybe you could explain a little bit about what I know you've got some incredible tools in this book I was reading about your meditations in there and the mantra and the different things, but maybe you could just explain a little bit about that. How do you do stillness? How do we do stillness? I guess you could give us a little lesson. That would be awesome.
Sure. This book was really about introducing some simple ideas and getting the mind to look at getting out of the overwhelm. And so the ideas of stillness and using your senses is something that is what I've done my whole life.
Yep.
To work with a traumatized animal, you have to use your senses.
Yep.
And so its observation is the most important part of that, and that comes into that sixth sense, the energy of it.
Yes.
But to start with, when you want to really work towards being more energetically still, you can use, and your mind is overwhelmed and your mind is busy. There are some simple things, because sitting still for some people is not easy. It sends your mind crazy being still physically. So you can use your body and moving around, and at the same time as using your senses, as let's say your hearing. So even in the background here, you hear all the birds. So you can, if being still in your body is too much and you can't be still, you can either sit still if you need to with a cup of tea like we are,
and
listen to the sounds.
Yeah.
Or walk around and pay attention to every sound in your environment. Because all you're wanting to do when you're being still is actually being present. Which is the right here, right now, in every moment. So being able to just let go of every other thought in your head. Pay attention to the birds, the sounds, and even down to, for me, when it's late at night, this is where, even between my heartbeats, I would be listening to sound.
Yep.
And many years ago, when I worked for a while with some hearing impaired people, I knew my hearing was really good. So she asked me I thought, I'm going to get my hearing checked.
Oh, yeah.
And the machine, I could hear so much. I actually listened in between my heartbeats to hear other sounds.
Oh, my God.
I could tune myself down that. And she asked me if I would come back and test the new equipment.
Did she?
And it realised that hearing is more than just sounds. It's about paying attention to what you hear.
Yeah.
So that's what leads into being still, is paying attention to what you're listening to. And the mind chatter is you're just listening to what other people, other things, other people's emotions and energy, and I'll go into that more.
True.
But starting with what you can hear. If you're wanting to just quieten your mind when things are overwhelming, walk out and listen to the sounds outside.
Yeah.
That's a start. That's just a start.
It is a start. And sometimes, like, it's hard to get past even the bird sounds, isn't it? Like, I sit here, but I'm thinking if I really do listen between, there are other sounds. I can hear some cars in the distance. There are other things. But it's like you just pulled to the birds, isn't it?
Yeah, so then you start with the birds and you listen to their chatter and you listen to the other birds responding and other birds talking.
Oh, yeah. Like
and then,
I hadn't thought of that. Like a
you,
bird conversation.
Yeah. You listen to the loudest sound, the one that's got your attention.
Yeah.
And then once you've kind of relaxed with that sound, listen for other sounds. And just pay attention to what your mind is listening to. And what is it? The loudest sound.
That's so interesting.
So what are we doing in a stressful environment? We're paying attention to the loudest sound.
Oh, that's really brilliant.
Yeah.
That's true, isn't it? And you know what's funny, and I've just got to mention it, the other day when I did that 2-minute meditation, guys, because my viewers love the birds out here, I try to shoot outside as much as I can, and they were noisy like this today, like they're pretty noisy, but the other day they were extra noisy. But when I started the meditation, I don't know if you guys noticed, but it went really quiet. Yeah. The birds like sensed we're all doing a bit of a meditation, and they all calmed down. It was the strangest experience, but when I watched that little bit of the meditation back, I noticed it. Yeah. And it was like my vibration had affected. If you guys go back and check it out, but I did notice that.
And you know why?
Why? And that's what I wanted to ask you. Like,
okay,
what happened?
So in a moment when you're offering, let's take this to offering your attention. So in a meditation, when you were just taking that time to be still in your mind, what you're offering is the now moment.
Yeah.
And animals understand how powerful that now moment is.
Wow.
And in that now moment, when you bring their attention to the now, it quietens their chatter.
Oh, I hadn't even thought it's an energy exchange.
Yeah. So when you quieten your chatter and you bring the focus and attention to the now. So when we've worked with Sprocket before, what I'm getting him to do... Oh,
it's the same thing. Yes, it is.
Is
that
paying
makes sense.
attention to what I'm paying attention to.
Yep.
Which is everything in the now. So he has to go quiet to listen to the quiet, what I'm listening to.
He does too.
So when he's quiet, in that moment when you're very now, that is the point, what you call a 0 point.
Yeah.
That's the place where your stress will fold and collapse into a healing moment. So the place you're taking an animal to heal themselves is a remembering. And that remembering is be in the now. Be aware of what you're thinking about in the now.
And that's what we've worked a lot with Sprocket, guys. He was always in very up energy, wasn't he, Sandy? He would always be hypervigilant, up
in his past
mind. And we used to click the lead on, And then we would use our energy, which a lot of dog people, whisperers and that do, to bring him down till he sat down and calmed down. And now when Sandy, when you arrive, he comes right down, doesn't he? His energy just goes right down. And he just calms his mind. And he's not hysterical, and he'll lay on the ground and he'll roll over and he'll be submissive, I guess, is what he will do.
Yeah,
to you, because he trusts your energy.
Because he's letting go of his past memories.
He is.
Of what upset him before.
Yeah.
And his future memories of what might upset him if he goes out the door.
Exactly.
Because I'm bringing him back to, how about right here?
Yeah.
So then he's like, well, what are you thinking about? So he starts paying attention to me, which then reminds him to pay attention to himself.
Exactly.
They copy you. So that's what it is.
That's what happened with the birds. Yeah. Thank you for clearing that up, because I found it very intriguing. Because when I'm chattering and I'm sitting here, like we can hear lots of birds now, they're on my same sort of wavelength, aren't they?
You're just showing them, in a sense. And not all birds and animals will pay attention, but the ones that do are just, you're demonstrating the now energy, how to be still. And that is just letting go of the thoughts and the chatter. And that's where there's a difference between thoughts and thinking. A thought will come into your mind like, it pops into your mind, I've got to walk the dog. Then your mind will engage in the thought, well, I've got to walk the dog now because I've got to do this and I've got to do the shopping and I've got to do, that's engaging in a thought, which is thinking.
The racing mind.
That's the racing mind. So what we're trying to do by being still is stop the thinking mind. So when a thought comes in and you want to engage in that thought, which is where creativity comes from.
I love that part of your book.
You got to pay attention to where are you thinking? And that comes from your thought. What thoughts first come in? Is it a bad thought? And then you're then in that busy mind of stressing about what somebody said yesterday, what somebody did, what they're worried about. And all of a sudden you're in somebody else's thoughts.
Yes, you are.
So it's paying attention to, first of all, whose thoughts are in your head. Are they yours?
That's true.
And then where does your mind engage in those thoughts? So it's stress about what has happened or what is going to happen. You're not in the now.
No, you're not in the now. And I had a good example of that yesterday. I actually said to the guys, I interacted with someone and they were really coming up in their pain body and their energy was terrible and it was like being directed at me. But I moved away. I recognised it with my senses and I knew it wasn't about me at all. But it was still directed at me. But I just moved away. But I was still carrying it for hours later. I still kept... It plays over like a mouse wheel a little bit, even when you have that awareness of trying to be still. So I was really excited when your book came because I could bury my head in it and start to think, right, what can I do to switch this gunk and rubbish off?
Well, reading a book is another way.
Yes, we talk about a lot of books here too.
So that's a way to, it's not perfect stillness, but it's engaging your mind with thoughts that you want to have.
True. Depends what you're reading.
Yeah, so you're reading somebody's thoughts and then afterwards you engage in a different thought process. So the stillness is the quietness between that, but reading is a form of finding stillness because you're allowing in thoughts.
True.
And so what about all of the movies that we've been watching? So many of them are getting more and more violent.
Oh, they really are.
Allowing in the thoughts of somebody else's bad story.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, what do? You think about the movie. You're engaging in somebody else's thoughts.
And we know that they plant seeds in a lot of the movies anyway. Yeah. We talk about that here too.
So for me, when I started to go down this journey of wanting to share this idea that stillness is about observing where your thoughts are first.
Yep.
And letting go of the thinking, the engaging mind of the thoughts, and letting go of the thought. So that's the place. And for me, with that vibration and energy is where Liliana Riven came from.
Yes.
So my name is Sandy.
Oh.
But
I love Liliana Riven.
Liliana Riven was a part of an expression of me that was my creative self. That was that stillness.
Nice.
So that's why I wanted to write Liliana as Liliana Riven because
it's a beautiful soft name.
Yeah.
It's got a lovely flow.
Yeah, that's it. And that was my creative place and that's the name that kind of came to me as reflecting me in that place.
I love it.
Yeah, you know, there's so many different elements in being creative.
Oh, we talk about creativity here all the times. I can use Sandy now. Liliana understands creativity. She's got a lot of it written in the book here. But we do talk about the creativity and how it distracts your mind. And by creating something, feel like you're also achieving something. It's like me creating the gardens. Yes. You know, you taught me a lot about, you know, being self-sufficient. And I feel like I'm really achieving things. Like, that's another example of that, isn't it?
Oh, gardens are beautiful. And again, it can lead you to, when your mind's too busy, then engage your body. So being still also has steps. If your mind is just too busy, then sitting there quietly to let go of thinking and let go of thoughts is impossible.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
It can be a challenge. Even to teach anyone to live in the now is very challenging.
So when I work with an animal and I want to still their mind, I first look at where are their thoughts in energy. So I look at, out of 10, where's their mind? And if they're in 8 and above, you cannot disengage the thinking.
True.
So you then cannot change the thought. So what you've got to do is be active with them. And first of all, perhaps go for a walk. It's the same with our mind. If our mind is too busy, you might need to go for a walk first till they've got a bit of energy out. Then you can sit with them and observe their thoughts. But if they're an 8 and above, it's like us. When we're too overwhelmed, we can't sit still and be calm. So gardening is a perfect way to do something with your physical body until you can take a breath, and then you can start stilling your mind, which is, what is my thoughts and where is my mind engaging in those thoughts? And what am I not still about? Where is my nervous system? Is it functioning or dysfunctioning? Am I feeling anxious? What emotions are coming up for me in this moment? So stillness is just a tool.
It is a tool.
To observe yourself.
But like you're highlighting too, is that it's not just about sitting and doing the yoga position meditation. It's about, it is like a form of distraction. But like when I garden, for example, I haven't got room for all those thoughts.
No.
In my mind. It's like, we call it, someone here, Catherine, I think it is, Catherine, you called it spiritual decluttering. It's like getting out and clearing the mind, isn't it, of all the chatter, like you say.
So then engaging with a person or an animal in stillness is about, first thing you do is you observe.
The dogs are all over. Yeah, by the way.
You observe their minds. So you observe what they're doing. Are they... And in that observation, so are they busy? And you try and get them to stay in your space. And that's why I put them on the lead when I'm wanting them to be still.
Yes, the energy comes through the lead.
Yeah, you have that engagement with them. Exactly. So I just watch them. And I let my thinking go. When a thought comes in that he's not breathing properly, I then just let it go. And go back to observing, you know, his sounds. Is he groaning or whining, or is he breathing? Is he stressed?
Using your senses again.
Yes.
And visual.
Yes.
Horses are visually easy to read. I find that as well, as an example.
They don't really hide.
Head goes up, head goes down. No, they don't hide. They're very hard to hide.
Well, the head up and down is all about their nervous system, because when their head is above their heart, it's a suggestion to the nervous system that they need to be in flight mode because there's going to be a predator.
Okay, got it.
If their head is below their heart when they're eating, the nervous system says, I'm safe, I can just graze and calm my system down. So head up and down is all about the nervous system.
Wow, that's so interesting.
So in a sense, we don't do that, do we?
No, we don't.
But we do things like we fidget and...
chew nails.
Yes, we don't breathe properly.
True, shallow breathing, we talk about that, guys, a lot.
We don't calm ourselves down before sleep.
No.
And the stress of COVID has put everybody in such a fright mode that it's such a need to bring ourselves out of that freeze place and bring ourselves back into freedom.
Yeah, it's true. And the thing is, Sandy, a lot of my viewers have been going through a lot of these aches, pains and ailments, which I was sharing with them that you also have as well with your neck, and we've all had these little blockages in our bodies, which you were actually the one that put me onto with my knee, about moving more into that 5D, how we're letting go of those. We call them like little fragments of glass that are trapped in our body, which is like the memories, the sense scars, all those kind of things. So it is interesting to try and move through and take that step forward, isn't it? Well, it's not. We've got to change the way we talk, I guess, but...
Yeah. Well, they're trying to keep let's just say, the corporate governance of the system structure that we're all in, that we were born in, our parents were born in, our grandparents were born in. But they're trying to create a fearful, a flight fright mode. They want us to stay in that.
Oh, they're working hard at it.
Yes, because then they can distract you. Here, if you don't do this, or you don't think this, then this bad will happen. It's this constant...
As most of us experienced in the last 4 years.
Yeah. And I really saw all of us, we all felt into that, because it was global.
Yep.
It was threatening.
Very.
And then after a while, it really dawned upon me that we've always been in that space. And that COVID really highlighted for me that a need for stillness is so paramount and
crucial.
It's so crucial
Yeah.
that we've lost ourselves in the engaging thoughts of their conversation.
Yeah, exactly right, because it's the dominant voice and the dominant noise, the loudest sound, which is why a lot of people turn the news off and everything here on my channel.
Get rid of the loudest sound.
It is.
And then what you do is you
I
kind
love
of go,
that. That's brilliant.
oh,
yeah.
that's not
what's
my life.
behind it. Like really try and hear the noises behind.
And what's the noise behind? Oh, I'm stressed. I feel sick. I'm not happy. My stomach's not right. My head's not right. My bones aren't right. Oh, what's happening? My knee's hurting. And then we're not paying attention to that the earth is ascending as well.
Exactly. It's that whole energy. It's really affecting everybody.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the ones waking up. It's got to be a shock. There's a lot. We've got some questions actually too around some of these things. Will we get started and do some questions, and then we can talk a bit more on the book? All right. Well, I got you guys to write in a few questions. These are the general questions pretty much about the book, really. So Pam Colley, you always watch my videos, so thanks for the question. How does stillness create healing, which we've kind of been talking about, and are we tapping into God's source?
Good questions. Are we tapping into the same source? Yes. Everybody doing, regardless of what healing method it is, or what stillness, ultimately, yes, we're all tapping into the same source. Is it God's source? Yes. Ultimately, that's the names we call it. There are so many names for the same thing, a creative source, but yes is the answer to that. And how does stillness create healing? It's about coming back to that 0 point. When your mind is engaging in the thought, so the thinking mind, it's too distracted with past or future. It's not actually in the now. The thinking mind is already in the past or in the future. So the thoughts then, when they pop up, they might pop up in the now. The engaging is always then going to be about triggers that come from that, pain that comes from that, anxieties about what might come. So creating a healing space, first of all, you need to be quiet. And that 0 point really is letting go of the engaging thinking mind and then the thoughts that are popping in. So when a thought pops in, you let it go. And you keep letting those thoughts go until you expand the gaps between the thoughts popping in and nothing pops in. And then you can, listening to the birds and observing the leaves blowing on the tree or the clouds in the sky, letting your senses pay attention to sounds, pay attention to sights, and expanding the quiet place in your mind where no thoughts come in. Now that's the place when I work with an animal, when I demonstrate clearing my mind. So I'm observing an animal, I'll look at the animal.
You work on you.
Yes. When I clear my mind, I'm allowing in all of the things that need to be done. So the healing comes through a quiet mind and when you quiet your mind, you quiet your body. If you're moving around.
That's how it works.
Yeah. If you're moving around, your mind is still engaged and is busy. So ultimately you first use movement, use sound to distract your body.
Like the gardening or whatever, walking around in nature.
It's a quietening down process to the stillness. So I demonstrate to the animal or the person by being still myself, coming to that place where I let go of all my thoughts and all my thinking. And then what comes is the remembering in my cells where I need to heal.
Yeah, like the birds, how they quietened the other day.
Yeah, and then what the animal will do is remember like, oh, you're still. oh, I need to be still too. So when Sprocket yawns,
Yes, I was going to say he'll
he's
yawn
letting go of a thought because I
or shake.
reminded him to remember for himself
Yep.
to be quiet, to let go of thoughts.
So really thinking about that question, it quietens down your nervous system,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Like
When
you
you-
said with the horse, how they go like that.
So when you quieten your mind and let go of the thoughts, your nervous system can stop
Okay.
over functioning
Yes.
and then come back into a healing.
That's how
natural-
it'll heal.
That's how you heal.
Which
Healing
is what
natural.
most of us here on this channel need to do.
Yeah.
We've got to get these ailments healed.
Yeah.
We
So
want to. It's just how.
Well, with my neck, when my neck was playing up and the sleeping, and I realised it was coming from jaw tension, from stress, I then went, right, now I need to address where the stress was coming into my mind.
Right.
So then I first did the slowing down, going for a walk out in the trees, listen to the birds, and it reminded me of what have we lost?
Yeah.
Joy,
The joy.
happiness.
Totally.
Yeah. So then
Although we're finding it again.
yes, we are. Because we're letting go of the loudest narrative.
Yes, we are. That's
and
exactly
We're
right.
coming back to the narrative that makes sense to us, which is joy and happiness.
Joy and happiness.
So that's where healing comes from. As soon as you stop
Yep.
the stress,
Yep.
you will heal.
That's exactly right. Because it's our body, isn't it, telling us. It's telling us we're jammed up.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And I was telling the guys about that valerian root tea. I'm still sleeping well, are you? Yeah. I told them to go give it a try. Do anything for sleep.
Anything that you can help your nervous system. And we go in and out. Sometimes teas will work and then sometimes they won't.
Exactly.
Going
You get
for a
immune
walk.
to things.
Yes,
Yeah. You have to
it's-
change it up. Is that what you mean?
Well, yes, because there's so much stress in our environment, and a lot of the stresses we don't see are environment stresses. So the earth is in stress too, and there's
Exactly.
lots of toxins around. Our
Lots.
bodies are full of toxin. The earth is full of toxins. There's radio waves and EMFs, and
It's everything.
so there's a lot of stresses that you don't see. So we need to constantly find ways to, when the stress comes in, to filter it out. And stillness is a way of filtering out your stress.
Exactly. And I suppose that would be the tool. For example, there's a lot of people in the UK at the moment, and even in America, I think they're talking about bringing back the lockdowns and the masks, you know, the whole crap. We're all sick of it anyway.
Lie, distraction, lie.
Yeah, and it's the loudest voice. But that would create little past memories in people, a lot of us, wouldn't it?
Post-traumatic
It's normal
stress.
post-traumatic stress that's getting triggered, isn't it?
That's what they've created.
So this stillness would help to heal that
yes.
by using some tools.
Yes.
Yeah, got it.
Stopping the loudest sound.
Loudest
Looking
sound.
for the quietest
which is
sound, which
mainstream
is your
media.
own self. Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Shut out the loudest sound.
True.
Find the quietest sound.
Yeah.
Which is what you practice when you listen to the birds, and then you listen past the birds. You listen to the loudest sound, and you listen to the quietest sound, and you just observe it. And in that observation, you're in the now.
Yeah.
And
You
that
can't
now,
help be there.
that triggers healing.
Because it was even weirding me out that the birds weren't quiet. And that was actually that was my distraction, because I was like, where'd they all go? Like, it was really weird.
Yeah, so you
We might do
observe
the
them.
next question.
Yeah.
Sue Skinner. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
How can I raise my energy levels as I have limited mobility and wonder how I can improve things? So she's obviously quite restricted on... And energy levels is a big one that a lot of people have been talking about, Sue, to me lately.
Yep. There are so many elements of this, Sue, and it's a really good question. And this is something that I'm doing a lot of work on for a lot of people. And energy is something I have in excess. So I looked through two sides of that. Some of it was from stress, and then I worked through what stresses me out. So this is fatigue and excessive energy is kind of on the same path. So where I would want you to start, Sue, is looking at where your thoughts are first. What does your mind engage in? Because a lot of the energy that you lose is from your thoughts. So start there, and you may have limited mobility, but just start observing yourself. Where are you limited? What part of your body are you limited in? What part of your life are you limited in? Start observing you. Observe your thoughts, your feelings, where they go, how much time you put into what you think about. And when it comes to your mobility, your body is trying to tell you, yes, we're all signed up for an experience. So there's a lot to say.
Oh, that's so cute. They're used to my dogs interrupting the video. Don't stress. It's quite normal for Sprocket. Always likes to get up on get the attention. They're used to him. They know what Sprocket's a big sook.
Hop down for a minute.
We'll go for a walk later. He knows he's going for a walk. Sit down.
I know you know.
They love.
We're not wanting to be still anymore. He's been so good.
He's in his up energy now.
Okay, so let me just give him just a moment. Just now, I want you. I'm just going to pay him some attention.
Come here. We knew it would have to happen, guys. It's not a normal video if the dogs don't star in the show. They always have to come and interrupt. Usually it's bone chewing, Sandy.
Well, even using Sprocket as an example then, his feelings where he can hear dogs in the neighbourhood.
Oh, he can. They're barking in the distance.
He's distracted by the loudest noise. And he needed to come over and say, look, I'm feeling anxious. There's other dogs. They're quite close. They're really loud.
And now he's laying down.
Yeah. And I just put my hand on him and held his collar then and went,
that's a good example.
It's okay. Quite. And what he's done, he goes, oh, yeah, I remember. I have to lay down when I'm too busy in my mind.
Yeah.
So a lot of the fatigue is elements of toxin in our environment. But let's look at that a little bit deeper. What are the toxins? Okay, we know what they're all an idea. Food is an idea. We're an idea. We're all energy. Everything's energy. So it's really about where is your fatigue coming from, and look at your thoughts. You would look at what then your body is attracted to in foods, and thoughts and feelings, and all of this genetic information that you have that you came in with plays a part too. So it's really observing yourself. Observe yourself from inside out. So look at the stresses that you've had in your life, the traumas that you've had, and think about, are they following a pattern of your family's trauma? Are you playing out your role in this evolutionary cycle of you have your mother's and father's cells in you? Therefore, you're playing out anything unresolved that was in their cells. That we just don't realise it until we're older. You, as a child, you just be a child.
You just don't know. You're absorbing it.
So then in your 20s and 30s, you start going, what am I doing? And then you start questioning why you choose to do things, and you start to realise that we've followed our parents' genetics, but that's what evolution is. We are them. We just half of each of them, which makes us. But then our mind, our spirit, is the place where we can start to ask who we are. So it's about observing your body. Where is your pain? Where is your stress? Where is the fatigue? What you're then attracted to. So the people and the events, situations, experiences. So are you around angry people? Are you around happy people? And I found if you want to drain your energy, walk into a room of really angry, miserable, sad, depressed people.
We've been talking about a lot of angry people here that are waking up, that are really in beast mode.
You'll lose your energy because
really quickly too.
Well, they're depleted. They're depleted in their energy, depleted in minerals. If you come in with energy, you're actually higher in your minerals. So they will then leach that energy of you till you're depleted. So Sue, I would look at, what are you depleted in? So if you're depleted in your energy and your body is having stress, then it's not just about thoughts and genetics, but who are you around? And energy can be taken from you in so many different ways. And that's what I learnt with animals that are stressed, that they've taken on the energy of the people around them.
Definitely.
So that is one of the biggest fatigues, is being around people that are, let's just say, stealing your energy.
Energy vampires.
Energy vampires.
My daughter calls them that. She loves vampires, but she hates energy vampires.
So there's lots of levels, Sue. So I would want to look at what foods you're attracted to. Combinations of food have a huge influence on your energy. And so what's right with your body, for your body, and thoughts and the people that you're around.
Yeah.
And what are you doing with your creative time? Like, do you love yourself? Do you love your expressions in your life? Are you frustrated? Do you feel trapped? Are you bored? Now, frustrated, trapped, and boredom can drain your energy quicker than a lollipop.
Yeah.
Puts you on a high and then
and drops you down.
So they're the things I would look at is who are you around? What emotions have you got? And what energy, what foods? There's a whole lot of combination.
Yeah.
And observing yourself and seeing if you're happy and what areas are you not happy in. That will drain your energy.
And would you change, like, how would you go about changing those, like, say the food aspects or like, how can you pinpoint that down? Like, would you...
I went in my 20s. I had...
this is for everybody too, Sue. You know, Sue as well, but this can help other people too.
I had to go through my own food elimination process in my 20s because I had severe colic and all sorts of things as a kid and growing up, and lots of gut stuff from having a hernia as a premature puppy and kept in a humidity for 3 months. So
trial and error.
Antibiotics and all of that. And so I had a very sensitive system. So I learned to pay attention, observe what hurts. So take the time and observe your body bit by bit, what hurts. And if you've got low in energy, then something in your body is draining the minerals that are coming in. Have you got the right minerals? Have you got the right combination of minerals? And minerals come from food and also from your environment.
True.
Like, are there, what's toxic in your house? What's toxic in your environment? Not just people, but
well,
things.
actually, funny that you say that, because Sue's always mentioning that they're always doing those aerial flyovers, like the weather manipulation kind of thing.
Wouldn't help.
You do notice that, Sue. I notice you mention that a lot.
So how do we handle that? Well, that's where our thoughts are our powerhouse, and bringing us to we've been talking about. When you're wanting to find if you're still or not, what is stillness? It's observing what thoughts you're engaging in, whose thoughts, what's the loudest sound.
Yes.
And what's the propaganda.
Yeah.
Well, when you see the chemtrails, the first thing we've been taught to think is that they're poisoning us.
Yes.
So I made a conscious choice that I will, every time I see that now, I thank them for the minerals. I choose that if everything is energy, and energy is just an idea. So everything that exists is an idea. So is toxins and poisons.
Yes.
So if I then choose, well, then I am not going to let that harm me. Now, I know we're in this world and the reality of there is a lot of things here to harm us.
There is.
But if I then choose to say, well, I am not going to engage in that idea, I give myself a better chance not to absorb those minerals. I can just choose to say, I will choose to absorb good minerals. So I make sure that I have different minerals for myself. And there's something that a friend of mine and I have been talking, going into a deeper topic, about energy. There are stories about people, shamans, who have lived for a lot longer than we do.
Yeah.
And they were very well aware about that most people are minerally deficient. So when when you have a bad thought, it will drain minerals from your body. Now, if you're not minerally replenished with good foods, good thoughts, good people, good feelings, good experiences, it's not just food. It's all of those energetic ideas.
Because we are sensitive souls, empaths, intuitives, a lot of us here on this channel anyway.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. It's not just the food.
If you're not replenished in so many ways, then you will need to draw that energy from somewhere else.
Yes.
So if you're in a room full of people who are just stressed and depleted, they're going to draw minerals from the being in the room that has more vibration.
And sometimes that can happen. I know, so you talk about your family a lot too, and family can do that without even knowing it sometimes too, and friends as well.
So energetically for me, Sue, I would feel like the people around you and the environments, and just observe where your energy goes in that space. Like you'll be able to go, oh my God, I was feeling maybe a 5 out of 10 and then I was around those people and I dropped down to a 2. Observe when your energy depletes. Observe when it's
Take note of it.
Take note. That's where you start.
Actually, I think that's a great idea for all of us. Yeah. What's triggering that fatigue in us, really?
And where are you when you're up? if you're feeling
Oh,
a 10,
yeah.
pay
I think most
attention.
of us could recognise that one pretty quick. In the garden, Louise, for you and I.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's a
So
good point.
if you're a 0, where are you? What
Ah,
have
I
you
love
just
it.
eaten? Who have you just talked to?
Yes, did
What
you?
have you just observed?
Yes.
What have you? And then bring it back to
Brilliant.
what's the loudest sound in your
Yeah.
mind?
And that can help everyone out there.
Yep.
The loudest sound. All right, let's move on to Nikki Rowe. Nikki has been experiencing strange feelings in her back. She's had some popping sounds lately, and she's got issues in her right eye. She would like to know how she could improve, and her husband recently had a heart attack too. So she's probably got a lot of stress going on, I would say, like just with that whole scenario.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, obviously there's things going on in her body, and her right eye is pretty significant.
Yeah.
I think she can still visually see, but there's a lot going on, you know.
Yeah. So the physical body going through this ascension process is huge. The shifts. First of all, we're full of the thoughts of propaganda from several generations of war pain.
Yep.
So we're actually all children, we're all war babies. So we've all got generational trauma
True.
and that toxic environment in ourselves. And so that's the past coming through. So we started in an environment that wasn't in freedom. It wasn't in replenished.
No, it wasn't.
No. So we were already depleted.
But we think it was. They fought for our freedom, you know, that kind of thing.
No.
Interesting.
We weren't. So we grew in an environment, and when it's like a dripping tap, or the boiling frog. You know,
Yes, I heard that last night, that one.
Slowly.
I was like,
the frog won't jump out if you
do it slowly and gradually.
And we're frogs. They've been slowly and gradually creating an environment. So, and they had to, because the children, we were waking up and teaching our children, so they had to create another war. This one's against everybody, to basically keep creating that traumatic environment.
It's very traumatic.
Yeah. So basically, Nikki, you've been raised and born into a traumatic environment.
And if you probably look at your history of your family, that would probably make sense, I would say, if you look back.
Yeah. And now we've got our own war.
Exactly.
So you're getting the experience that your body recognizes of pain, trauma, and stress. So you're too stressed. We're all being too stressed. So for me, I feel like your body is the things that you're saying, these issues, super stress and toxins. So you really need to observe yourself, which is the loudest noise. Okay, so vision would be pretty pertinent to make sure you have your eyes and your vision, and these things you would notice them the most. So the vision for me then would be that what have you seen in your life? And so the spectrum of what have you had to put up with? What have you seen in your life? What did you grow in? What was the environment that you lived and grew and felt in? Everything you see, you feel.
Yep.
And then I would look at what do you want to see? Is there a conflict with what you see and have seen and what you want to see in your life? So that's where the stress that COVID and those that are awake, the stress that we've been holding is that we want to see it better. So
we do, and clearer.
And then so we've been getting anxious that it's not there. So we have to look at, are we holding the anxiety of not seeing what we want to see in our life? So
True.
there is, it's a lot deeper than that. That's just,
It is a
Nikki,
general
there's so much
overview.
more to that. It's just an overview. So I would really look at talking to your eye and really looking at what's the connection with issues in your back. Back is a stability. Do you feel stable in your life? Do you feel stable on the planet? Well, none of us really do.
And probably with her husband having the heart attack.
The heart
That's
attack,
a lot.
there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Well, you think about the wars. What have the wars done to men, the male energy?
Yes.
They've been emasculating the male energy.
They have.
For generations. And now we're in this time of look at what they want to do with bringing in the feminine energy. The wars
It's
created.
craziness.
They handed the responsibility of the male role to the women in the wartime. So over-masculating the women, emasculating the men.
Yep.
And then now we're in this place where the feminine energy is supposed to be coming back in, which is emasculating the men even more. So the men are facing a lot of stress on how they feel.
Actually, that would make sense with all that transgender. It's very confusing all this time.
Yeah. Well, what is a man these days?
Well, no one asks that question. They always ask, what is a woman?
Yep.
Don't they? They're not even asking what is a man.
Are they asking the men their own?
No.
You know, when anyone says all men are something, I get so cross. I'm like, don't generalize.
Yeah.
The men, the male energy has been holding, being emasculated, which is the flip side of that.
And they're very confused on what their role is, I think, too, sometimes.
Well, we're not in war, and they've been told that the man's role is to fight.
Yes.
But then that's your nervous system is up too high if you're always fighting. And then what in this life now, how do they fight? The system's locked everybody down. What do they fight for? How do they fight?
Freedom.
You know? Yeah.
Freedom's about the only thing I can think of that's
so
worth fighting for.
There's a lot of pressure on
There is.
on everybody. I think women predominantly, our nervous system has responded in too busy a mind, and we panic very easily.
Yep.
I think the men have taken it internally. We externalise it.
Yes, we do.
We panic, we
yes,
get nervous.
men suppress.
We need to then walk it out and quieten it down to find our stillness.
Yes, true.
Men draw it inwards. So what does that put pressure on?
Very toxic on the heart.
Yeah. It's put pressure on the system, the nervous system.
The nervous system
And what does that directly affect? The blood pressure.
Yes.
And that's just the heart pushing all of the information around the body.
And that's what men are brought up to believe, that you just hide your emotions. I mean, that's
very.
still not really changing, despite that they're trying to.
No.
Oh, well, thanks, Sandy. Hopefully that helps you, Nikki, with a little bit of info. Louise Hayden, we talk all the time. Louise and I are big gardeners. We're crazy. We're very similar, actually, aren't we, Louise? Louise asked, how many people do you think are awake or awakening? And which country would you say is probably the most awake in your view? Like, how do you see all this going at the moment?
So if I was to put things in proportions, I would say 14% of beings have signed up for the dark path. So that might be those on the very demonic, dark,
the extreme.
Those that want to harm, and those who have signed up to be harmed. Now, they might be of light people, but either way, there's 14% for me is what I felt were really here to experience. That is the unchangeables, the pedophiles, the suicides, and these aren't bad. The suicides and people
There's a
who
lot
are
of
self-harming.
pedophilia coming through. God.
And what does that come from? That comes from their own pain and trauma.
Yes, it does. Speaking of pain and trauma, here's Sprocket to get a bit of healing. He's got to be, they're used to it.
Your turn in a minute, I promise. Good boy. So,
Good boy. He's got to knock everything over.
So
he's got to sit right in the middle. Come on, that's silliness.
Of all of us who are left, which are people that are wanting a good experience. So let's say that's 75% of the rest. I saw with these recent new moons and full moons that's split roughly in half. Now, half of that bubble of those that don't want to see. They're kind of like, I don't want to know that I'm stressed. I don't want to know that I'm sick. I don't want to, they're in freeze mode. They're either in flight, fight or freeze. I don't want to know. The other part of the half of us are those that are trying to figure out that we do want to know. We want something better. So I would say of that 75%, it is split half. It's and lots of jumping. Some are saying, oh, this is too much light, I don't want to know. And then they're like, this is too much dark, I want to know some truth. This is all about truth and integrity this time.
Yes.
So I'd say of the 75% who aren't here for the really bad journey, that there is half of that is definitely on a journey of seeing, observing themselves. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Awake is in degrees. There are those that are fully awake.
Yes, which is most of us here.
Yeah.
And we talk about a lot of those ones still waking up, taking their bubble denial suits off. They're actually looking now.
Yes.
Like you say, they're still in that process of
they don't know what they're seeing.
They don't know what they're seeing, and they can't piece it together.
Something else.
Yes.
They're starting to say, I think my father, who's had lots of jabs, he's even starting to go, I think this is rubbish.
Yes, people are starting to figure it out. Something, but it's a feeling. I keep saying to my viewers too, it's that gut feeling. It's the something just doesn't feel right, and it's a knowing. It's the instinct. The senses opening up.
And where do you find your instinct? Best when you're still.
True.
And or in the worst war, your instinct will kick in stillness or complete chaos.
Yes.
Which is why the last 4 years is not working the way they wanted it.
No,
they didn't
it's not.
realise that
It's dragging
in
on.
absolute chaos, your intuition can pop into.
Exactly.
Because it's survival mode. And if your survival mode saying we could die, it then flicks into overfunction.
Yes.
It's not stillness, but it's overfunction. So I think that half of that 75% are starting to go, something's wrong here, and I'm over-functioning, and I need to improve something.
Sure.
The other half are still in denial.
Yes.
So it's that's kind
so
of how
improving.
I'm seeing. Yes.
So they're definitely still awakening, which
I
is, I think, what. But most of us share those stories. All of us here would know someone who's currently talking about it, like you said, starting to think something isn't adding up.
No.
Yeah, the maths ain't right.
And then if you look at that portion that is, let's just say 35% of us that are in that wanting to know, then it's about not everybody's courageous to actually share that. So
No, they're not.
You know, it's being aware that they might know on the inside, but they're too scared to say anything because
That's
of
what we
all the
talk
people
about
around
a lot,
them.
the fear.
They don't want to stand out. They don't want to be isolated.
Different. They don't want to be us.
No, that's a
I often
difference.
say they don't want to be the so-called conspiracy theorists, but we call ourselves the BS detectors here, meaning the bullshit detectors.
So those who are brave to stand up,
It takes a lot of
a lot
bravery.
less. Yeah, but that's growing.
That is
I
growing.
think more and more people are starting to see.
I think so. Oh, thank you, Sandy. I hope that helped Louise, and I think that's probably about right.
What country? Oh, look, I think it's pockets
Oh, yeah,
all
the
over
country.
the world. I don't think
I
it's
do
one
too.
country. I think you have pockets, and they find
Careful.
each other.
Off you go.
I think people will find each other,
Pocket.
and then as they expand their awareness of
Just
self.
going to move the dog. Keep talking.
Come on, Scott.
Come on.
Off you go.
Come on. Just so he doesn't knock it over.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
just think
pockets.
That,
I agree.
I think it's pockets. That might be.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Oh, no. Now we've got. Do you want me to go see that? I've got Amber Marshall. Do you want to read that question and I'll go tell the guys? I'll be right back. I'm just going to leave you here for a sec.
Okay. So Amber's asking, do you have any tips on keeping positive while fighting cancer? And Amber is curious if it's all up to her attitude. That's really good. Good thoughts, Amber. So keeping positive while fighting cancer. Well, I think too it's growing that awareness about what really is cancer. And for me, my father has been through cancer. I observed my mum through cancer and all of her treatments. And I've seen a lot of people with cancer. For me, at the core of cancer is carrying a lot of unresolved genetic trauma for your ancestors, but also yourself and the toxic environment and the load that you've been carrying. So how do you stay positive through cancer is, again, observing all the parts in your body and trusting that this is a process, and cancer is a normal process in your body. So when the body is overwhelmed with a toxin, whether that be something you've consumed with food, or toxins in the environment of lead in paints and overwhelming toxins from fear from the last war generation through what our families have held for us, where is your toxin and what is being held in your body? So cancer is a normal process of your body pulling the toxins into a place and holding it in a bubble until your body is then safe to let that go. And our bodies have just not felt safe in the environment to let those toxins back out. So our bodies have become overwhelmed with bubbles of toxins and fears and stress. And that's when it shows up as too overwhelming. And we then we're coming into this cancer environment of people. And it's just an overload of toxins from poisons, from stress, from fear. So really the way to stay positive is the cancer process is a natural process in your body. Trust your body. Trust your organs. Start observing all of your organs one by one. Start having conversations with your body, your cells, your blood, your heart, your mind. Start observing your words. What words do you use when you're thinking about yourself fighting the cancer? Understand that cancer fighting in the body is natural. It's a process.
It's a big thing to go through,
Yes.
isn't it?
I was explaining to your viewers
Yep.
that a tumour is about drawing all of the toxins in the body to a sac. So it's not, the safest place for toxins is in fat.
Yes.
And that's why there's the accumulation of fat cells in our society. People are getting more and more
Yes, they are.
accumulating fat because they need a place to safely store toxins.
Yeah.
But at some point, the toxins, if they're overwhelmed in the system and the system's not, one, quiet and still enough to come back to self-healing.
Exactly.
If it's not flushed enough to get rid of things, so there's not enough flow. And if there's constant stress from the people around and you're not observing where these genetic traumas have come from, then the cancer becomes overwhelming. And
Yes,
then we
it
need
would.
some form, and I would never say to anybody not to do
Sprocket.
treatment. Or removing cancer, because that might be the only way. If you can't quieten your mind, you can't get to the answers that you need, why it's there in the first place and where they came from, then treatment can help you in the beginning. So it's there's so much to it, but it really is starting to, again, observe yourself and trust your body and ask your body to constantly come back into full function. And what's in dysfunction? Where's your cancer? So then your cancer will be very telling of what's dysfunctional in your life. So where is it in your body? And then ask your mind, observe your mind.
Yes, observe it.
Where it is. What is that information that's feeding that cancer still coming in? So is the cause of that accumulated toxin, let's just say in the breasts, let's say it's an accumulated toxin and the lumps have grown to the point where there's not enough safe environment outside those tumours to release the toxins from the tumours to then out the system, flushed out of the system.
They're trapped.
So if the body's system is full, then the tumours are going to accumulate. So look
Sorry
at where
about Sophie, guys.
it's really about
She's
looking
naughty.
at looking at where it is in your body and trusting that you have the innate abilities. And yes, you might need some help along the way in treatment, but that's okay. And you just trust and bring love back to yourself and work slowly through
Well done. Well done.
all of the things that we've talked about.
Oh. We're back. Sprocket just bumped it off, guys. That was Sprocket. He bumped the table.
So that's what Amber, my thoughts are for you with how to stay
with the
positive.
attitude.
Is really coming back to how important it is to love yourself and just observe slowly, bit by bit, where the cancer is and what messages it's trying to bring you. It's only trying to give you information and trying to bring you back to your innate sense of abilities of creative healing. You're a beautiful soul, Amber. I can feel your energy. You need to trust yourself more and really just observe it. Talk to the cancer, and
That's a really good idea.
yeah, where it is in your body.
You don't think of it
It's
as
cells.
like, it is cells. Exactly. I agree with that.
Talk to
I
the
think
toxins.
that's really good advice to talk. Oh, thank you, Amber. Amber watches me all the time. She loves different sets. She'll love this because I've got all the greenery today. She does set displays, and she always says, why don't you shoot it in different areas? So we're shooting it outside today. We'll quickly ask a couple more questions, and then we'll have to get going because dogs are getting restless, as you guys know. The unnamed channel. How will we know when we have left the 3D world, and what do we look for? Will our physical bodies change? And I think we're all kind of going through that. We're in it.
We're
It is
right
the 5D.
smack.
We're in the transition.
We're transitioning.
Yeah, I agree.
So there are different levels of transitioning. First, it has to be the mind.
Yes.
So your emotions have been transitioning for quite some time, and you've been feeling something's wrong in this environment. So you're starting to see that there is a dark element in our environment and a light environment. So emotionally and mentally, you've been slowly transitioning for, especially through COVID. That's just a catalyst. But I would say at least from 2016. And so we're coming into a time now that we are physically starting to shift. So we haven't transcended all parts. We can't just emotionally figure one thing without mentally, physically, and environmentally. It's all slowly bouncing between all elements. So our physical bodies are feeling the shift.
They really are feeling the shift.
So
I agree. It's now.
Yeah.
So we're on the move. We're on the move. We've just got to keep healing, haven't we?
Yeah.
So we'll know. And he said, like, how will we know? Like, what do we look for?
Well, for me, it's about changing first the mindscape. So you must, in the observation of your thoughts, what thoughts are coming in? Are they your thoughts? Where are those thoughts coming from? Quieten the dark, loudest sounds. Look for the noise that you want to bring in. So for me, it's about creativity, bringing love, trusting.
Come here.
Trusting all of the environment is here to serve us, and changing the thoughts of the chemtrails into something good. So for me, how I look at it is I'm changing me first. We can't change the environment till we change ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. Sprocket! Oh, he's so naughty. Do you want to call him over to you?
Sprocket! Hey, Sprock!
Sorry about the dogs, guys. Okay, we've got one last question here. From Chris. Chris watches me all the time. He's incredible. He loves nature. He's always outside. He's a vegan. He's really switched on to all this. Chris, I would say you are. He's also had the fatigue, and he feels the procrastination at the moment. He's got extreme tiredness, a bit like Sue. He's got the extreme tiredness, and he's finding it's draining. The energy of his family and friends is draining, which we talked about before. He just doesn't feel right. He feels like he's just existing at the moment. Chris is very healthy. Like I said, he's a vegan. He camps a lot. He's very awake. I know Chris always keeps me up to date with what's currently going on. He feels like he could have nano naps, and he's really struggling to get motivated. So again, we've answered a few of these things in the previous ones.
Yeah.
I might grab their leads while you just see how you go with that.
No problem. Well, Chris, I really think that the overwhelm of the environment that you're in is stood out to me. So there's so many people in our environments that have no clue. So they're no clue about the loudest voice in their head. They're no clue about the toxins in their body. So when you're in that space, you will be feeling them. I think, Chris, you're quite an empath. If you're, from everything you're saying, you're feeling the level of toxins in everybody else's body. You're feeling where they're at. So it's not just your load that you're carrying. I think you're carrying the load of other people in your space. So I think that procrastination, all of that sort of stuff, for me, is you're overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed with the environment. You're overwhelmed with the people in your environment, and overwhelmed with where are we going? It feels really uncertain, and that's the change. It's that uncertainty. So you really just need to give yourself time for self-love, and coming back to that, everything you're feeling is just telling me you're an empath, that you're a natural healer, and you need to actually just trust that what you really see on this planet and how you see it going forward, it's going to take steps. So small steps, and come back to what you think is right for you, and that you're feeling overwhelmingly so everybody else's stuff. And so observe yourself and let go of the stuff that you're like, I'm not responsible for that or for them, and I don't want to be responsible for that or them, and start coming back to what do you want to be responsible for you. It's always about this time is fighting having to fix everybody else. Come back to self-love. The journey now is, if they haven't learnt by now, they need to hurt. We did. So, and we've learnt from our hurt.
Yes, I agree. And we're in a much better place now. We feel a lot freer and a lot happier. We're finding that joy like you were talking about before. Yep. And I know with Chris, like he's talking about the family and friends in that situation as well. But he's also had a lot of dilemmas with work. They're very particular on everybody signing in with the apps. And he's like the only one who's really stood his ground to it. So it's taken a lot of courage and bravery and strength, I think, for him to stay in that power long term, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then so observing what things you're holding space for, and then asking yourself, are you happy in that space? Are there things that you need to, things and people you need to remove from that space, or do you need to remove you from time? Now that might not be like with family, you can't remove yourself.
Well, he goes camping a lot on his own.
Yeah. So it's really about finding that stillness in the space of chaos, something I learned and I'm very good at. I can walk in the middle of everybody's chaos. Through COVID, I was completely free. I walked everywhere without
She
masks.
did.
Into businesses. I never did anything.
She's the one that I said the police came up to in Coles a few times. We were talking about how bad it was. You couldn't even walk in a Coles. She was very brave.
Yeah, and it does hit your nervous system. I think your nervous system has been hit really hard, Chris, over this time.
Yes.
Which means you're still in overwhelm. You're not in freedom. You're not in a quiet place in your soul.
It's finding moments of it by going in nature.
Yeah, but that if you have to find the environment, you're still not still in your inside.
That's the difference.
It's finding
the
stillness
difference.
in chaos.
That's right. Which is something he probably needs to start practicing
Which is
now.
identifying what trauma is yours and what's not.
That's a really good point.
Don't hold
thanks,
somebody
Sandy.
else's trauma.
That's really great. Well, hopefully that helps you, Chris, but I think that makes sense, doesn't it? Because, you know, we still got to go to work. We still got to be in those chaotic environments and take on other people's energy. And if you are an empath...
Choose not to.
Yeah, choose not to.
Be there in your own bubble.
Wow. Oh, thanks, Sandy, for answering some of those questions. And thanks, guys, for sending those in as well. I've just got 2 little animal questions because we thought it'd be a bit fun if there were some animal ones too, because you are so brilliant. Look, I've given Sandy the lead for Sprocket and he's shut up, and I've given the guys, we're walking with some other people today, they've got Sophie's lead, and they're using the leads to bring them down, which is a good example. You could tell how loud they were. He knows. Okay, so Jen is a person who supports my channel all the time. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
She's unbelievable, and she's always talking to YouTube about helping out my channel more, and she gives it to them, basically. Yeah. Well, she's having trouble with her Shih Tzu, Jazzy Lee. She turns into a bit of an Amber Heard, you know, the Johnny Depp Amber Heard court case. Amber Heard's really moody, Hollywood starlet or whatever she is. When Jen ever baths, grooms or wipes her eyes, she bites her to the point of needing stitches. Now, this behaviour seems to be directed at Jen, as she's like butterwood and melt in her mouth with other people. But Jazzy will then turn around and cuddle and cling to Jen like she's her baby. So I guess at the end of the day, what might be going on there, do you think?
It's very classical, your mum, and you've replaced mum. So once they're taken away from their pack, you're the family, and it's the same as a mum role. So they adapt a little bit to the needs of the people. So it's kind of like the spoilt child role in a way, but mums are always hit first.
Yep.
So for me,
that's true.
Mums get the copper hit from stress.
Do.
Yeah. So your mum, Jen, and she's taking her temper out on you in any way, and the little things that you do that then she bites you, they're her triggers. So underneath, I would suggest doing lots of observation on her. So she's trying to tell you that in her core, she's not in a place of freedom. She's stressed. She's got some genetic stuff herself going on. She's got trauma she's holding. So the way to start with that is, let's say you want to groom her. And that's the trigger, let's just say.
Which it seems to be, doesn't it?
So I would then put the brush down and observe her behaviour. And if she shies away, it's a bit like Sprocket, you bring the collar out and he's like, oh my God, help. You know, so sit there with the brush and observe her behaviour. And then if she runs away, then you kind of like, okay, so then that's just a trigger. Triggers are just a catalyst to some internal trauma.
Right.
So it's really about observing your dog. And then, okay, so the other things that she's doing, like baths and grooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot around that body, isn't it?
So let's say you go into the bathroom
Close
to bath her. So at which point does she start getting stressed? Is it when you start running the bath or you're putting a lead on? Observe the
trigger
upscale.
point.
Yes. Where does
it turn?
Yes.
Is it a word she's saying?
So by the time she's biting you, she's saying you're not listening.
Oh, that's true.
So you've got to go back to the first thing. So let me give you an example. I had a horse I had to work on.
Yeah.
And I always gauge my distance. And this is why the brush and observe putting things in the space.
Yep.
So when I walked into the yard with the horse, I was about 20 meters away, and I had this image in my mind of a shark coming out of the water and trying to grab me. So I stopped. That was the horse saying, don't come near me, I'll kill you.
Yep.
So I trusted that was a first step. Now, this is a horse that nobody could ride. Well, within an hour, the horse was offering herself for me to hop on and ride. Because all I did was I saw the boundaries. So she's obviously got...
So you were listening to the boundaries
Yeah.
and reading them.
So Jessie Lee's just got some internal stuff going on.
Yep.
And the biting is your mum.
It's
so you're
gone
going to
too
cop
far.
it. And she's trying to say, I'm really, really anxious and nervous.
Yep.
So if it's about Bath, then I would wonder, is there past life trauma from drowning?
Yeah.
Is there birth trauma from suffocation, from being last out? You know, there's all sorts of reasons why triggers happen.
Yep.
So I would question trauma.
Yep.
So then I would observe what behaviour it starts with.
Yep.
And is it you changing, you know, does she recognise when you start to get up and start to do things, her behaviour changes? So then that's where I would start. I would go back to the very beginning where she starts to go, you're doing something wrong or different. That's where you start.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You've got to find
The
where it
turning
starts,
point.
the turning point.
That's exactly right.
And that's when you go back to being still.
And she's in
with
fight mode.
Yeah.
If you think about the bite,
and that's
how
mum.
it leads to the bite.
She's not going to bite anybody else but mum, because mum's...
No. And that's exactly right with teenagers. If I was saying to my husband exactly that the other night. I said, what is it with teenage kids that mum always cops it
Because you're
and
safe.
dads don't?
Because you're the safe
Yeah,
one.
and
Because
anyone
you're the
who's had
one-
kids understands that.
Yeah, but you're the one
Jen.
that says, what's wrong? Let's
Yeah.
go and talk about it.
Yeah.
Have you had breakfast? Are you ready for school? Who does the observation? Mum does.
Oh, well, that's
So who cops it?
that's
Mum.
fantastic.
So go back to the start, and Jen, and just observe
Yeah.
where the trauma's coming from. And I think some of the times once you've done that, you'll start to see a clear path.
And
of
are
what
you
to fix.
suggesting like remove the trauma from the situation or change the order of things, or how would you?
All sorts of possible things.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would then actually, in that time, let's say the bath is in the bathroom and I had a dog, I would bring the dog into the bathroom and run the bath and sit there and talk to her and saying, you know, I really would like to bath you because this is why. And watch, and if her facial expressions and her body language is just like, I can't cope, I would sit there and talk to her until she starts to calm down. And then I would open the door and not bath her. So I would slowly
Introduce it.
Yes,
Yes.
I would.
Would you
not-
put her on a lead to bring that energy down and help calm her?
I would try everything.
So you could
Yes.
even bath her with the lead on.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I would look at
because I know
what's-
how much we use the leads with my dogs.
What's the trauma? Where
Yeah.
does it start?
Where does it
And then
start?
talk to her. Spend time talking to her. Don't force it when you see the body language. Just work. Just give her time.
Yep.
Give your time to the dog in that moment and sit there and watch them and talk to them.
Yep. Beautiful.
there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thanks for that. That's even helped me. That's interesting. I wouldn't have seen it as the mother, but it makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And my last question, animal one, is Amber Marshall.
Yep.
Again, Amber has an old basset hound who's in her golden years. Do you have some practical tips for her comfort?
Gosh. The physical body's where it's causing her pain in these last years. The
Yeah,
old
it's
dog,
uncomfortable,
Yes.
as we all know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend observing where the discomforts are in the body. Are there little tumours? Do you need to slightly change the diet? So there's lots of really wonderful things for older dogs, for herbs and things that can assist in the flow, the functioning of the organs. Little things like heat lamps or warmth on a cold day, that, you know, warmth
Yeah, I
over the
use
lower
the
back
heat
and
bag
the heat.
for my old cat.
So if they
She
don't have a
loves
rug,
it. She
introduce
sleeps
one.
better.
If they do, little gentle stretches and massaging. When they get older, they start to sleep more and start to leave their body. And in that place, when they come back in, they feel the pain. So some natural pain relief. Hops is something that's a nice soft chamomile. Different things to kind of...
How would you give them chamomile in there?
You can just brew a tea.
Oh, and they
And-
drink it?
You can just mix it in with their food.
Oh, with their food, of course.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Things like that.
Things that calm the body.
Yep. Calm the nervous system,
Wouldn't
calm
thought
the
of
body.
just human chamomile tea.
Yeah, that can
Oh,
help if you've
wow.
got an anxious dog that's
Okay.
getting a bit worried about not being able to see. If they're losing their hearing and their
Oh,
sight,
well,
they
I've
start
got
to
a
get
blind
anxious.
cat at the moment that gets very anxious.
And so I would start things like
No.
that, looking at
Sit down.
massage, gentle massage.
Oh, yes, they like massage.
yeah.
My cat's been enjoying a massage. I think she gets a lot of body aches and pains.
Acupuncture.
So that would help. Oh, acupuncture, yeah,
I
you've
just
done on
took
your
one.
dog.
Yeah, I took one to my
That's a
dog to
great
acupuncture.
idea.
So lots of little things, anything you would do to relieve pain yourself, they can do too. So acupuncture, chiropractic, when they're older, I wouldn't recommend because they're already a bit after and you can
Yeah, that's true. They're a bit delicate.
Acupuncture, laser treatments, even your hands, in the center of your palms is where you can radiate beautiful healing heat from. So and if they're too sore to touch, you can either just then sit outside the body and let the heat build in your hands, or find the spot in the physical spot and hold over it. So you can just give them your time.
Yeah.
And also doing that, observing their energy, like when they're asleep, just give all of your attention. When a thought comes in that's about something else, let the thought go. Pay attention to their breathing, pay attention to their bodies, observe where their stiffness is, where their coat's changing, their grey hairs, observe all of their body. And if you gave them 5 to 20 minutes each day of just all of your attention, that is the now moment. That is the engaging and healing and reminding their body to heal.
Yeah. And I do really believe that. They want your full attention.
They just want your attention.
And they want your company. I get home and my blind cat just wants to sit on my lap.
Yeah,
they just want you that whole time.
Because when you give them all of your attention,
comforting.
They can heal.
Yeah, and it makes them feel secure, I think, too.
Yeah.
And loved and happy, exactly. Well, we might start wrapping this up now, I think. Okay. So in conclusion, thanks for answering all those questions too. Cool. And really appreciate you guys sending those in. It's just interesting. We all learn off each other, don't we? I'm just going to read a little bit from your book that stood out to me about, I just really love this, breaking free from the past, because we've been talking a lot here about these fragments, the memory that are stuck in our bodies, as we've been discussing. And you've written, this is out of your book, our past experiences serve as a vast reservoir of knowledge stored within us from the very beginning of our existence until the present moment. By embracing stillness, we can access this reservoir and gain insights into our behavioural patterns and the reasons behind the things, people and experiences we attract in our lives. While the past undeniably shapes us, it's essential to acknowledge that we possess the power to transcend its influence. Through practicing stillness, mindfulness and meditation, we can establish a new relationship with our past, liberating ourselves from its limitations. I just love it. I love it. I love your book. I love what you've done. Is there anything else you want to add to today? Is there anything else coming in the future? What's next after this wonderful book?
Yeah, well, basically to just recap what you just said then. Yeah, that everything is in our field. All of our experiences, all of our genetic experiences, because we're connected to our parents, so they're all connected to their learning as our ancestors' learning. It's all in our field of our energy. And it's really about quietening yourself down so those memories come back in the form of information to serve you in your now. The more quiet you are, the more you choose the thoughts you choose to engage in. Like you choose your thoughts. So you choose the engagement.
Yep.
You know, you think about the thoughts you want to. You engage in the thoughts that you want rather than those that are influenced by other means.
Yep.
Then, you know, you access the information that is already there.
Exactly.
And that is that God source energy. It's all around us and we're all connected to it. And that's basically let the past teach you.
And not be limited by it. That's the thing I really love about that. Yeah. We're not limited by sort of everything we've gone through and has affected us, are we?
No, we can transcend
it. We can change it
by saying, what do I want now? Exactly.
And I think that's where a lot of us, and you can get caught up thinking, oh, what's next? Like, where do I go now? Like, you know.
Let it evolve.
And so did you say you have got another part coming after the Finding Stillness book?
Yeah, so the next part of that is, again, to evolve this part of the story is finding connection.
And we'll be waiting for that. But make sure you go out and get this book, guys. Oh, it's very exciting. And what was that little bit? Be creating our, I just had it in my head then and it's gone. That bit about creating the when we really come into our really creative, we explode into our, what's the word?
The calmer that you are, the more you find yourself.
Unleash the creative powerhouse.
Yeah.
I love it.
And the more you understand yourself and what energies are not yours, what thoughts are coming into your head that have been influenced by others, and you can go, no, I choose these thoughts and I choose to engage in these thoughts. So my thinking is then in a positive way. Then you create the landscape or the mindscape of your body, and then things show up to match that. So how do we create a new world? We have to start here and here.
Yep, and change that vibrational frequency. Keep
What
lifting
thoughts?
ourselves up.
What thoughts?
Oh, I love it. You've been really helpful today. I'm sure that everyone's really grateful. Oh, Sprocket's about to knock the table over. We might have to go and walk these dogs, I think. I'm so proud of you with the book.
Thank you.
Chicky. Oh, go out and order yourself that. I'm going to have to show it to you again. Off Amazon. It's an absolutely brilliant read. I love it. You've written it and done such an amazing job. I just had to share it with my viewers because I know it'll really make a big difference to their lives, because a lot of us are quite stuck. All right, I'm going to say goodbye from Australia. Goodbye from me. Goodbye from Liliana Riven. And when we're off to walk the dogs. Don't forget, guys, to subscribe. Hit those like buttons. And please comment down below. Give us some feedback if you've learned anything today, or you still want to, maybe we could do another one down the track, because I think it's really valuable. So thanks again for your time.
Pleasure.
And we'll talk to you very soon. Bye, everybody. Bye.